So the cache is finished and it took about 4 hours. And if I select the liquid, and you'll see here we have 3 million particles. And before I go to the liquid shape one and under the meshing, if we hit render in the Arnold, you'll see we have a material assigned to the particles. And this material created by default when we created the Bifrost. You can create your own material too if you wanted to. So if I select that and let's go to the AI standard surface, and I'm going to turn off the transmission because this is not a liquid, it's a chocolate. And I want to change the color of the shader to something brown, and I want to change the weight to 0.4. Let's go to the Arnold and see, and I want to scroll down and I want to add a little bit of subsurface scattering, about 0.8, and I want to change the color of the subsurface to a bit darker. Let's select that and let's set that to brown, and I want to change the radius to black, and I want to just move that a little bit there, and I want to change the type to random walk 2, and let's see if we can do anything else there. The IOR to 1.2, and I created a preset for that, so instead of wasting our time on shading that, so we can go to presets and let's go to chocolate and replace that. So I prepared that for you. So the reason I am not focusing on the rendering and the shading, because I want you to focus and learn Bifrost for now. The shading and rendering Bifrost is not important for now. So let's talk about the problems with rendering the mesh like that. So instead of going there and enabling that, so what's the problem with that? The problem with that, when you render the sequence with Arnold, and Maya will crash. So you need to cache the mesh on disk as Olympic file or as Bifrost mesh, and if you cache that, you will not have any problems with the crashing, right? But the problem is with the motion blur. So when you cache it as Olympic and when you render it with Arnold, really you cannot get that motion blur on the mesh. And even I read the documents on the Arnold website, so they are talking about exporting the color map and blah blah blah, and nothing of that worked for me. So I don't know, maybe in the version of 2019 this is a bug or what, I don't know. But in this way, without enabling that, just rendering the particles immediately with Arnold, you can get the motion blur and it works. But the problem, the Arnold crashes. So we need to render it without the motion blur. So we need to convert that to mesh and export it as Alembic, and then render the Alembic file. And you know we cannot get the motion blur with the Alembic, but that's fine. We can add the motion blur in After Effects or fake it. So let's enable that, and now we get the mesh as you see. Go there. And let's hide now the liquid. So this is very important. You need to hide the liquid. So you'll get double mesh then. So you need to hide the liquid. And now in the liquid, I can go there and play with the radius, for example, to 1. And let's set the smoothing to 2 to make it a little bit more smoother. And the kernel factor, this is smoothing 2. So let's set that to 3. As you see, we get a really nice smooth mesh there. And this is the resolution. If you increase that, you'll get more details. So now we need to cache that or export that as Olympic. So let's go to modeling, in the cache, Alembic cache, we can cache the selection to Alembic. So I'm going to cache that and I'll be back. So I cached that. So let's go to cache again and Alembic cache and import Alembic, and I'm going to import that, import it. And now, as you see, I have the second mesh there. So I'm going to hide the original one. This is generated by the liquid, or you can just simply turn that off and hide that too. And now we have the Alembic, so we can call it Alembic. So let's assign the shader. Where is our shader? This is the shader. So now we can go simply to the camera and render that. And of course the motion blur will not work because, as I told you, the problem about the problem a little bit earlier, I talked about the problem. So you cannot render it with motion blur. So let's hit render there and see the result. As you see, we get really nice result. And by the way, the meshing in Bifrost is really bad. So for example, in Houdini uses VDB for meshing. So, but Bifrost using the Bifrost meshing, there are some outsourced plugins in Maya. You can download them and do a VDB meshing for that. So I'm going to give you a link in the next lecture, so you can click on that and see a tutorial about how to mesh that with VDB. So the VDB is giving you really more details and faster results for meshing. So again, I want to repeat one thing. If you render the sequence with the particles immediately without enabling the mesh, let's say you didn't enable that, and you want to render the particles immediately with the particles, so the problem with that, Maya will crash. So be careful about that. So you need to export that as Alembic. It's better, although you will not get any motion blur. So but you can fake that in After Effects. And here I am in the After Effects. As you see, I added the, let's go to the effects. I added a pixel motion blur from the effects there to add just a little bit of motion blur there. And I added a curve and vignette to just the vignette, as you see, just to add a little bit darkness around the frame. So this is how I did that. So I hope you enjoyed. See you another time.